Morning to everyone. Great to see you, and this is really the great news that we still have international and domestic investors. So, let me give you some reflections on what's happened in the last 30 days and what kind of plans we have on a long-term and short-term perspective. The agenda I personally had in my government were as follows. The first one is to restore the governance in the country. We received an entirely dismantled state machine with no prosecutor's office, with no court system, with no government. What we got entirely inefficient state body. The second issue, very challenging for us, was war. And I would even say is war. This government is a wartime government. And what we did, we prevented a military operation of Russian Federation invading eastern and southern Ukraine. But despite this, Russia made an aggression and conquered and grabbed a part of Ukrainian territory, which is Crimea. And this has heavily affected both political and economic situation in our country. The third issue is a political association agreement with the European Union. We did it. We've signed the first part, an important one, with our European partners, having split this deal into two parts. The first one is a political one, the second one is an economic. All member states signed the political part, and on the economic issues we decided not to postpone but probably make some kind of pause and to sign an economic part after the presidential elections. But despite this, European partners unilaterally applied all economic perspectives or all economic benefits for Ukraine, and we believe that the European market is to be open for Ukrainian goods and for Ukrainian trade, starting with the 15th of May. Next issue is to restore talks with international investors, international donors, and international financial organizations like the IMF. We've started this process, and we consider to accomplish this process as soon as possible. And in order to reach the target, the Parliament last week passed a number of austerity measures and passed an amended budget which could pave the way to economic recovery. And most important and challenging one is whether we are ready to implement real reforms. Yes, we are, but what we have been doing before is not the reforms. This is the painkillers to rehabilitate or to defibrillate Ukrainian economy, not to allow the country to die. The next step which needs to be undertaken is to launch vast, comprehensive and serious reforms in all areas. We do understand that we are facing a political challenge which is presidential elections. But despite this, we have no time to wait, we have no time to waste. We need urgently to start step-by-step reforms in all sectors, starting with the energy and ending with the constitutional reform. And I would like to reiterate again that an economic package of reforms is more or less clear, but on the constitutional reform, which is to restore the balance of powers and which is to present the vision of every region and every single Ukrainian voter in this constitution, is still ambiguous. We expect that the draft bill on the constitution is to emerge in 2 weeks, and much will depend on whether political forces are ready to make real political and economic reforms. It wasn't an easy job to grab 258 votes to pass the austerity package. And we need to amend this austerity package, and I insist and I ask the Parliament to support another draft legislation which is already prepared by the government and needs to be urgently passed in the Parliament next week. And the same goes with the Ukrainian constitution. We as the Ukrainian government already explicitly showed our political position, what kind of constitution the country needs. And yesterday I met the chairman of the Constitutional Commission to show to the Ukrainians that political forces are ready for both political and economic changes. Few numbers, what we expect to get in the year 2014. The macroeconomic picture is not as good as it could be, but despite this, it's not as worse as we expected. We expect a negative GDP growth -3%. We expect inflation up to 14%. We expect the flexibility of the exchange rate, which is not to be an over-flexibility. We believe that in case if we resume our program with the IMF and with the European Investment Bank, with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, with the World Bank, we can not only impose an austerity measures, but underpin Ukrainian economy with some tools that can boost economic growth. Due to the fact that the government is very tough on the budget expenditures, the layoffs in the public sector would be about 10%, and this would definitely hamper our data on our redundancy data or unemployment data. But this is the price we need to pay for our reforms, and this is the price we need to pay for the future of Ukraine. I do believe that you will ask a number of questions relatively to the gas bill, to utility bills, to what kind of reforms we will undertake in another sector. So I am absolutely open for any questions you have.
Well, I'll then maybe start with the... Sure, please. Thank you very much. The first question, and I've been asked actually to ask you this question by the ambassador of the Czech Republic and EU on energy issues. He's wondering why Ukraine still has no gas meters on its border with Russia. It seems that this is creating a lot of opportunity for intransparency and abuse, and he has been suggesting it to the Ministry of Energy already in 2007-2008, and again he was visiting here on behalf of the EU 2 weeks ago. That was one of his questions, and the second one, which I'd like to ask you on the reverse from Slovakia. In 2009, when Slovakia needed gas from Czech Republic, the two prime ministers have met, shaken hands, and the reverse started working the following day. So it was a 24-hour process. According to the Czech and Slovak specialists, for Ukraine it may take 10 to 15 days to reverse the flow, and the capacity is sufficient to import 20 billion cubic meters per annum. If you go through the whole procedure with bank guarantees, signing binding agreements, it will take longer, but not more than 3 months. And we are afraid that we may drag our feet over the next 6 months while the weather is good, and then when the frost comes, this PR will change towards saying that we need a quick deal, let's go to Moscow and sign a quick deal there. We have seen how these deals work. They are not good for the country, they are good only for the individuals who sign these deals. If you could please comment on this.
Let me start with the reverse flow. It's clear that the EU and Slovakia and its operator has all technical abilities to start the reverse operation with the Ukrainian Naftogaz. We expect that up to 20 billion cubic meters Ukrainian Naftogaz could get in a reverse flow. The price is definitely cheaper rather than Russian one. For today, it's in average $350 per 1,000 cubic meters. I asked the European Commission and 2 days ago sent a letter to President Barroso to support Ukraine and to ask our partners in the European Union to stick to the energy charter and to stick to the third energy package, and to support Ukraine in getting a diversification in the gas supply. There were some rumors that we need to invest another hundreds of millions of dollars in order to build another pipe or another tube. This is not true. The truth is that Slovaks can easily provide a reverse flow for Ukraine. And the truth is that it has nothing to do with the technical issues. This is only the political decision. And we believe that our European partners will make this political decision. On the Russian gas, yesterday Russian Gazprom announced a new price, which is $368. We didn't get any official paper, but I asked the CEO of Naftogaz to go to Moscow and to discuss our bright gas future with Russian Gazprom together with Russian Naftogaz. Even more, Russia yesterday, violating the international law, denounced Black Sea Treaty deal, and they tried to pave the way to increase the gas price for another $100, up to $500. So we are, as usual, happy with this. But despite this, you know, this is the situation in which we exist. On the one hand, we have a reverse flow deal on the table, and this would be very supportive. On the other hand, we still have the Gazprom, which is a key supplier to Ukraine, and we consider a number of options how to cope with Gazprom. I don't want to dig into details, because first we will make the right motions and right moves, and only afterwards we will announce them.
Thank you.
I would say all technical, political, and legal means will be undertaken in order to facilitate a level playing field between Ukrainian Naftogaz and Russian Gazprom. This would be the right definition.
A question here in the first row. Alexander Branis from Prosperity.
Hello, Mr. Prime Minister. I have a question in relation to agricultural sector. What are the government's ideas on changing tax regime for the agricultural sector, and in the longer term, do you envisage opening Ukrainian agricultural land for private ownership in the foreseeable future? Thank you.
On the agricultural sector, looking at the last data, the agricultural sector is the key driver of Ukrainian economy. It's still a key driver of Ukrainian economy. We will support the agricultural sector with the credit support from the commercial and state-owned banks. This is the first issue. The second one, on the VAT refund. In the austerity package, we tried to eliminate VAT refund for the grain traders, but despite this, I failed to get this, as we have a very strong lobby in the parliament that didn't allow us to create unequal conditions for everyone. On the land reform, you know, it's not an easy question to answer. On the one hand, we do understand that to build up a market and liberal economy, we need to make this economy with a number of options, including land issues. On the other hand, we still have the political issue. Whether the House is ready to pass this bill. So, my vision is as follows, that we need to pass a comprehensive land reform which will allow all agricultural entities to use and to possess this land. And this is the only solution for the agricultural sector, how this agricultural sector could attract investment. This is a medium-term perspective, because in the short-term perspective, we do understand that it's not doable before the presidential elections. Or it's doable, Petro, before the presidential elections. Just tell me.
Question there in the back.
Mr. Prime Minister, the U.S. and Russia held high-level talks on Sunday concerning issues related to Ukraine's future. To what extent do you believe these talks will continue without your presence?
Nice question. Frankly, I like our Russian neighbors. They are brilliant, absolutely. For example, they usually propose us how to change our country, how to change our constitution. They know the best way in which Ukraine will succeed. For example, they propose us to federalize Ukraine. We propose Russia to deliver more powers to their federal bodies too. They propose us to make the Russian language the second state language in Ukraine. We offer to Russians to make Ukrainian language the second one because we have the biggest minority in Russia. And we believe that Russia is a very important country and they need to stick to the highest standards of every democratic country, and they need to improve the protection of the rights of every human being in Russia, civil rights and liberties. So we have a number of recommendations to Russia too. We've presented, together with our our Western partners, so-called, not presented, but created or facilitated a roadmap how to restore our bilateral relations with Russian Federation. Not reset, not reload, just restore. And frankly, to start from the scratch. Because Russia is to realize that first, Ukraine is an independent state. Second, Russia can have relations with Ukraine, which is to be the part of the European Union in the long-term perspective. And we signed the political association deal as a clear-cut sign of our EU perspective. And the third issue is that Russia is to stick to all its international obligations, as we did. There were no talks about Ukraine without Ukraine. There were talks about Russia without Ukraine. So we would like to have talks about Russia together with Ukraine. And we believe that as quick as possible, our foreign ministers will meet again, because they already met. I mean the foreign minister of Ukraine and Sergei Lavrov, who is Russian foreign minister. And some process will start. And this process will consist of two parts. The first one is the annexation of Crimea, which we will never recognize and which the international community never recognized too. The second part, which relates to our short-term problems or conventional issues like economic relations, like our bilateral trade. So ready to negotiate, like energy, ready to negotiate, but this time ready to negotiate on the format between two foreign ministers in this so-called contact group, which was offered 3 weeks ago.
there are a couple fixed income investors who have asked me to ask you a question about your view on potential private sector involvement or some potential for debt restructuring of Ukraine's debt. We have heard from the International Monetary Fund that their program does not envisage any private sector involvement. We also understand that debt to GDP is relatively low in Ukraine, and the potential restructuring would come with big problems for the banking sector, with potentially larger decline in GDP, and so on. And most investors support that view. Eurobond prices have recovered very close to their par levels. Some are trading already almost there. But there are still some voices, maybe some advisors that are approaching the Ministry of Finance with proposals to restructure some debt, like for instance Naftogaz, which enjoys a rock-solid sovereign guarantee, so it would turn into quite a messy process that would substantially delay the access of both the sovereign as well as corporates to international capital markets and destabilize the macroeconomic situation. So perhaps you could say your view on that, or assure investors, because this would lead to a further increase in Eurobond prices and further accelerate your access to private capital, both by the government as well as by corporations.
We need to make the first step is to get the IMF loan, and this would be the best sign, and not just sign but real action, that could show that Ukraine is on the recovery track. I don't want to give any kind of mixed signals saying that we need to restructure this or that. We will consider all tools necessary for macroeconomic stability in Ukraine. For today, the key issue which is on our radar and on our agenda is the IMF. Full stop.
Thank you. Any other questions? Stefan?
In terms of equity markets in Ukraine, there's obviously very little left. Is there anything you have planned to, in terms of change in governance or in terms of legislation, so companies don't only list abroad, but there is more listings here, and that the equity market is being revived?
To revive the market, we need to change the Security and Stock Commission and to impose the new regulations to make this body entirely and absolutely independent. Well, because as for today, it's absolutely independent. It's nothing depends on him. And we would be delighted to get a technical support in order to restore the market as it is. As an equity market is a part of this big market. So again, for today, we got the painkiller of austerity measures. This is the first step. The second step is to get a large-scale and comprehensive reform program, including the IMF. So this is the way how to heal the economy. The third step is to restore or to rehabilitate the market, including an equity market. And in order to do this, we need to change the law on the prosecutor's office, to make judicial reform, to pass a public procurement act, to pass an anti-corruption act, to pass even the constitutional reform, to prepare a new tax code, to tackle corruption in VAT refund, to issue treasuries for the VAT arrears, to rebuild an anti-monopoly committee and actually appoint the chief of the anti-monopoly committee, which has an implication over the equity market too. So this is the plan we have in our mind. And if market restores, it will definitely have an implications to the equity market too.
Andrei?
Mr. Prime Minister, one of the greatest macroeconomic weaknesses of this country has historically been its excessive reliance on energy supplies from Russia. Yet in the last 20 years, very little has been done to alleviate this issue. How the energy policy of the new government will be different?
I already commented on this particular issue. There are a number of problems. The key problem is that Ukraine has the highest consumption of the energy products per $1 of GDP. So we succeeded. We are the first one in the world. But despite this, we need to deliver and to supply gas to our households, and we need to supply gas to our energy sector. We need to supply gas to Ukrainian industry, and it means that we need to buy gas from Russian Gazprom. You can't do it in a snapshot. Just say, you know, we got the office and in 30 days we'll change everything and start from the scratch. The agenda we have to diversify the flows, to get an independent source, which is from the European Union. This is the first one. The second one is to work with Russian Gazprom in order to clarify the way how we will execute our obligations. We still have the deal, whether this deal is valid or no. Whether the price is clear or it's ambiguous or vague. The third issue on the energy efficiency. Previous governments tried to build an LNG terminal, and we still have this project on the table. And we are fully supportive of this project to build an LNG platform, not to build, but to rent an LNG platform and to build in Odessa region an LNG terminal. This could additionally provide us with few billion cubic meters of natural gas. The fourth one is energy efficiency programs. It will take time, but we are very supportive of energy efficiency programs, except those that were launched by the former high-profile officials, like this so-called green tariff, when they took about $1 billion from Ukrainian banks with no way to repay this $1 billion. So this is the agenda for our energy, and last but not least is to decrease the consumption. To decrease the consumption and to impose, to put the gas meters in every house, to put the gas meters to every household. As you are well aware that we've increased already the gas prices and gas bills and utility bills for Ukrainians. And today the government and the National Commission is to announce clear numbers.
Thank you very much. I see that we have to, maybe perhaps one last question on the energy from Mr. Plachkov, and then we'll have to let the Prime Minister leave.
Спасибо. Уважаемый Арсений Петрович, два вопроса у меня. Один касается энергетики, второй сельского хозяйства. Что касается тарифов, вы только что сказали, что абсолютно правильное решение повышение тарифов для экономически обоснованных уровней. Считаете ли вы правильным сохранение алогичной, на мой взгляд, и в какой-то степени антиконституционной практики разделения потребителей на категории очень бедных, совсем бедных, немножко богатых и совсем богатых по алгоритму Леонида Черновецкого и установления тарифов от объема потребления? Не считаете ли необходимым сегодня ввести экономически обоснованные тарифы для всех категорий потребителей при обеспечении адресных дотаций малообеспеченным слоям населения? Это первый вопрос. И второй вопрос касается сельского хозяйства. Мы все прекрасно знаем, что тормозом инвестиций является отсутствие рынка земли. И вы на этот вопрос ответили. Политическая ситуация, лобби в парламенте. Не считаете ли вы возможным, как первый этап, отменить мораторий на приватизацию земли для многолетних растений? Это касается виноградников и садов, и уже 20 с чем-то лет сотни тысяч гектаров брошенных, и абсолютно не будет сопротивления ни депутатского корпуса, ни людей. Это будет как отработка пилотного проекта рынка земли на части земли сельскохозяйственных угодий. Спасибо.
Ну, все мы пили вино колонисты, он все еще ваше, поэтому понятно, надо отменять. Дайте по объему потребления и вообще по ценам на энергоноситель. Sorry, I missed. As I already indicated, we have increased the gas bills and utility bills. In average, it's about 40% for the utility bill and 50% for the gas bill. You're absolutely right saying that there is no reason to split the consumption over different types of categories. But to have one single price for everyone would be realistic in case if we change the way of subsidies. And this is to be a two-way street. What we did, we left the current model of pricing, but we imposed a new type of compensations or offset for Ukrainian households. For today, the system that exists in Ukraine envisage that more than 1.4 million of households are covered with the subsidies. Our Department of Social Security introduced a new regulation, which is to deliver an additional compensation for the gas and utility prices increase for more than 3 million households additional. We want to double check how this system works. If this system is efficient, we'll go back to the issue you've raised, to put the same price for everyone, do not considering any kind of diversity in consumption. But let's make it step by step. Let's absorb the fast shock from the utility and gas bill increase.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank on behalf of everybody to the Prime Minister for making time and also for your efforts in your post for the last months. Wish you a lot of energy and success, and on our behalf we are committed and will support your government with what we can, which is money and investments, which is probably also very important.
Could you elaborate on money?
A lot of money.
So I wish you really good luck, and we do believe that Ukrainian economy will revive due to your efforts and due to the efforts of due to our joint efforts and due to the efforts of the Ukrainian government. We are facing a tremendous challenge, but we have huge opportunities. So let's think about our opportunities and our success. Thank you.